play with him. Alrighty. It is 10:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in beautiful Lawrenceville, Georgia, a suburb metropolitan area of Atlanta. Whoop whoop. So this morning, woke up doing some morning breathwork crap. I like to meditate first thing in the morning. And last night I had basketball. We have a new team. I guess I'm just really competitive because I'm angry about the team. I'm angry about basketball because we have really good players that play well one on one, but if they don't have the ball in their hands, they stand and watch. And you cannot do that, especially in 3-on-3 league. You have to be moving at all times, making the defense react to you. And if you do that, that creates more opportunities to score. And then, if you know in sports, the more points you have, the more likely you can win the damn game. Anyway, this morning, doing breath work, and this recurring thought kept coming to my head of just like, oh, I gotta fix it. We gotta get better. We shouldn't be having this problem. Problem. And then just like the breath, it made me realize that all experience in life, I have to remind myself this, everything in life is passing on through. It's passing on through the window of light. It's like you're staring out the window, looking at a conveyor belt, and every experience, whether that be your thoughts, like mine, about being pissed about basketball, the experience of playing basketball, that hunger in your stomach, the anger that you feel, all of that is passing through your experience. The problem is we often fight with what's going on. We fight with what is currently passing through, forgetting that it does, yes, pass through. It's basically the law of impermanence. We often take whatever problem, whatever situation we're going through as absolute. Oh my God, this is a big deal. But let's put it this way. Let's do this little thought exercise. Think about your life, whether you are 17, you're in high school, whether you're 33, about to have your first kid, like me, you're 55, your kids are going to college, or you're 75 and your grandkids are being born. Whatever the case may be, whatever stage you are in life, we all have a past. We all have memories. When you look back at your life, think about the good times, the bad times. Think about what worried you 10 years ago. What doubts did you have 12 years ago? The pain that you experienced, the joys, the ecstasy that you've had, the ups and downs, the roller coasters that is the ride of life. Nothing stayed the same, did it? Nothing. What was a big problem 20 years ago, you forgot about a year later, a year after that. Things that were great and fantastic, and you were so excited, and you had to work 5 years of going to school, and this was this big moment, and you're so ready to get it, and you did. You got it. You got your degree. You had a baby. You met someone you loved, and it was fantastic. You've been waiting so long for that moment. Comes through. It finally arrives. You were watching it on the conveyor belt come, and it did. And then the excitement faded. It became normal. And that's just how everything goes on this physical plane of reality. Things come and they go. Nothing is here to stay. And I like to beat this into my brain, and that's why I'm sharing it now, is because of that little goofy basketball thing. Obviously, it's not a big deal. I know that. But my brain has a hard time remembering it because I'm a competitive bastard and want to win. But knowing that this problem, better way to say it, is a life situation, and you can apply this to whatever you're going through right now, because whatever it is you're going through, it feels like the biggest deal ever. Whatever your current problem is in life, it feels like the most important one you've ever had. It's funny how it does that. The brain likes to trick us. It likes to tell us that whatever is in front of us, whatever is right in the middle of that conveyor belt, this is the priority. And it makes sense. The brain wants to take care of whatever, proposed problem there is. But we must remember, we must use the higher part of our brain, the one that isn't completely ran by anxiety and fear and survival, knowing that this too shall pass. So I want to look up some shit. I want to look up something, just get some high level and just different examples to really sink in this notion, this idea, this law of the physical universe that everything is impermanent and subject to change or eventual annihilation. Sounds scary, but it's just the way of the world. God help us all. So today I'm talking about impermanence and how everything is passing through our experience, whether that be thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations, or perceived problems in the world, stages in life, situations in the world around us. Whatever it is passing through this conveyor belt of experience that eventually changes or goes away entirely. Period. Can you give me a scale from the most microscopic or small, whether that be a thought or a change in your cells in your body, to the death of the universe? And I want you to give me like 10 to 15 examples from one end of that spectrum to the other, so we can see that regardless of if it's an atomic microscopic change to the death of the universe, and I want to see everything in between of how life and everything in it is impermanent and passing through. Let's see what we got. From the jitter of subatomic particle to the final cooling of the cosmos, it's defined by an expiration date. Nothing, no thing stays the same. Wait, can y'all see this? It's kind of cutting the words off, ain't it? Hold on. That's better, isn't it? All right. Yeah, maybe if I make it bigger, then that's a good idea. I should just make it bigger like this, and that way no one is reading ahead. No cheating, folks. Okay. Nothing stays the same long enough to be truly solid, like a fixture, like a permanent fixture that, like this desk. You can't see it, but it feels like it ain't going anywhere. But I promise it will. Eventually, in the vacuum of space, virtual particles, pairs of particles and antiparticles, what the hell is that, pop into existence and annihilate each other almost instantly. What? Meaning the emptiness of the universe is actually a constant flicker of birth and death. All right, well, here you go. Right here at ground frickin' zero. Pairs of particles and I don't even know what an antiparticle is. Pop into existence. What do you mean pop into? They come out of nowhere and then annihilate each other almost instantly, meaning the emptiness of the universe is actually a constant flicker of birth and death. Okay, wow. I thought molecules would be the smallest, but molecules is the second one. Here's at molecular vibrations, the next level. At any given moment, the molecules in your body are vibrating trillions of times per second. Are you kidding me? I didn't know that. You are never actually a static object, but a high-speed blur of motion. Right. So if you're looking at this ugly mug right here, every part, not only are the cells, being birthed and dying, things are moving around, the blood is flowing, but the very atoms that make up the cells that are all moving around are moving. And not only the atoms, the vibrations, everything is vibrating. This whole thing, if you were to able to just like look at this from a psychedelic trip perspective, everything you see on this image would be shaking. Nothing is staying still. So not only is it things passing through, but while they're passing through, it's like they're vibrating their way out. Life's a trip. The human thought. Okay, so now we're going past molecular vibrations. So now that we've passed, antiparticles popping into existence and annihilating each other at every millisecond. And then the molecules a little bit higher, vibrating at trillions of times per second. We go to the human thought, the thing that plagues us in our very existence, but also can be our greatest tool, inspiration of hope, and creates fantastic technologies, innovation, invention, and a great vehicle we use to experience and interpret life and communicate our thoughts and feelings to our loved ones. I mean, thought is one of the most powerful tools a human possesses. And neuroscience suggests a moment of conscious thought lasts roughly 200 to 500 milliseconds. I think that's 0.2 to 0.5 to like half a second before the brain shifts its firing pattern to the next state. Wow, it's pretty quick. Skin cell turnover, 2 to 4 weeks. You essentially get a brand new suit of armor every month as your outer layer completely sloughs off and replaces itself. That's wild. Is it? I think it's like a lot of dust in the room is dead skin cells. Maybe true. The human skeleton, even your bones, which feel like the most permanent part of you, are entirely remodeled over a decade through a constant process of resorption and formation. Global forest cover. Every minute the Earth loses the equivalent of 27 football fields of forest? No. While elsewhere, pioneer species are already colonizing new clearings. Oh, thank goodness. That's just part of it, I guess. It's just nature, whether we screw it up or not. Things come in, things come out. The life of a species. On a geological scale, humanity is a flash in the pan. Most mammal species exist for only a few million years before evolving into something else or vanishing. The atmosphere's breath, the very oxygen you breathe, is recycled through the entire biosphere every 2,000 years. Really? The oxygen you breathe is recycled every two? That seems long. I thought it'd been quicker. Like, you know how oxygen, like the trees, aren't they like taking the carbon dioxide and putting out oxygen? Oh, then I guess something has to convert that oxygen to carbon dioxide for the plants to make it useful. I know that's us, but meaning you are breathing in, so the biosphere oxygen is recycled every 2,000 years, meaning you are breathing atoms that have passed through millions of other lungs. Wow. The Great Oxidation Event, 2.4 billion years ago. Earth's entire chemistry once flipped from an oxygen poor to an oxygen-rich environment. So even then, at this scale, the Earth itself didn't have all this oxygen before. A catastrophic change, wiped out most life, but paved the way for us 2.4 billion years ago. So because of this oxidation event, because a catastrophic change occurred, that allowed us to come into existence. What we think may be, I'm not even sharing my screen. I'm sorry about that. What we may think is bad may turn out to be good. You just don't know. We don't know. Stellar evolution. Now we're getting to the big boy stuff. Even the sun has a use-by date. In about 5 billion years, it will swell into a red giant, consuming the inner planets before shrinking into a white dwarf. It consumes us? There's so many questions at each level, but we're not going to dive into it. We're just going to look at the mystery, allow ourselves to not know shit, and just enjoy and marvel at the amazing miracle that is life, from the damn antiparticles and particles to stellar evolution of the sun into the galactic collisions, which in 4.5 billion years, the Milky Way and our neighboring Andromeda galaxy will collide and they will merge, completely rearranging the night sky in the orbits of billions of stars. Then, of course, after that, the big freeze, apparently. The ultimate end state is heat death, where the universe expands so far that energy is spread too thin for any work to occur, leaving a cold, dark, permanent silence. The universal death. The body paradox. What does it say? While we feel like the same person we were 5 years ago, almost none of the physical matter that made you then is present in your body now. You are a pattern, not a collection of parts. And we often think of that. This is my neck, my back, my... All right. That was a song. Your skin, everything about you is constantly changing. And though it may look fixed, it's the trick of the mind. We perceive things as more static than they actually are. And that's an important thing to remember, just like the problems in our lives. They are passing through, and to remember that. Though the forms change, a tree becomes ash, a human becomes the soil, the actual atoms are remarkably durable. The carbon in your DNA was likely forged in the heart of a dying star billions of years ago. What? The carbon in your DNA, the atoms that make up your DNA, were likely forged, created at the heart of a dying star, a billowing gas ball billions of years ago that it scattered its guts across the universe. And that part of carbon happened to eventually mold into create this vehicle that you are in, that I am in, that we are all in for a little while, until it once again changes forms. The universe isn't just changing, it's accelerating its change, moving towards a state where eventually even the light from neighboring galaxies will be unable to reach us. So there you have it. No matter what it is in life, it is passing through. And it kind of reminds me, this is an analogy that I've heard it from Eckhart Tolle, one of these spiritual teachers that I really enjoy, using, and I mean no offense to Christians at all, but there is an analogy and a good symbol, the cross, that can be used to remember of how we are pretty much the watcher of everything in our experience, and that it's just passing through. So I'm going to bring up some info on that, because I would be lying if I could speak onto it well at this point. But I want to bring up the cross analogy with impermanence, and let's see what shakes out. So I have heard that the Christian cross can be used as an analogy where the horizontal part of the cross is like the physical dimension of things passing through. The left side could be considered the past, the right side could be considered the future. And it's almost like that part is the conveyor belt, whereas the vertical dimension is always the present moment, always the container through which experience passes through. And so the cross is an analogy or a symbol for this idea of that you are always the witness, the experiencer, the container through which the physical world passes. Can you talk to that? The geometry of the cross provides a profound map of the human experience, illustrating the exact point of where our physical journey through time, the horizontal, is pierced by the timeless nature of consciousness. All right, we're getting a little abstract here, getting a little further away from the simple idea of our problems are here to pass, but at the same time, it couldn't be more accurate or on par, on cue with that concept. The horizontal, that conveyor belt. This represents linear time. in the physical world. The left arm is the past, the memory, the karma, which I will need to look that up. I forget the definition of karma, but it's basically like the idea. I mean, you know the idea of karma in a nutshell, but what you do creates a effect of your future, and that is definitely the physical dimension of everything you do, impacting where you are and where you're going to go, and what has already happened. While the right arm is the future, the anticipation, the anxiety, and potential. Life moves across this beam like a conveyor belt of changing forms. Now, the vertical dimension, this is where we're going to get a little hinky here, but we have to combine the two. We just talked about everything in the physical, how everything's passing through, but there's another element of this, and it is actually our saving grace and our keeper of sanity. At least in a lot of spiritual traditions and mindfulness practice. And hell, you don't have to be spiritual to appreciate this idea. So let's get into it. And I encourage you, regardless of spiritual belief or wherever you are at in your journey, to let yourself possibly be open-minded to this idea. So this beam, the vertical, represents non-linear time or eternity. Now, eternity, people often think as forever, like endless time, like time keeps going. But that is not necessarily what eternity means. What does eternity mean? Now, watch, I ask, and it's going to say, yeah. So the state of being eternal, infinite time without beginning or end, or existence outside of time. It often is referred to the afterlife or seemingly endless long period. But at least a lot of definitions of spirituality without limits, it's the idea existing outside the constraints of time. That's often how it could be looked at, is it doesn't have limits. Because if it goes on, if you think about it in time, you're putting a year on it. You're putting a concrete side on each thing. But I'm getting off track. The idea is, though, that it's nonlinear or eternal, meaning it's without time, is all I'm trying to say. It doesn't move left or right. It's always just now. It is a permanent axis that connects the above, the spirit, you could say, or God, to the below, the matter or the psychological depths. So the intersection, the witness, the center point where the beam meets is the present moment. A very cliche thing to say. Present moment has gotten so much hype, and then now we're almost numb to it. But with our exercise we did, with whatever you have experienced in your life, whenever you did that, whatever was experienced, whatever thought you had, whatever problem you were dealing with, every memory or experience you have always happened now. Our brain creates the illusion of time, of the horizontal, thinking about the future, which will never happen, because when it does, it will be now, and the same with the past. Whenever it happened, it was now. And when you think about the past, you can only do that now. Same with the future. And this is the idea in grounding in a lot of spiritual traditions. And really, forget spirituality. This takes you to a place of sanity. And it reminds you that whatever you are dealing with will be passing through, and you will experience it coming. You'll experience it going. Just like we will experience this life coming in, growing up, and getting old. You are the watcher, the witness, the underlying presence underneath the thoughts, the memories, the worries, the doubts, the wishing you weren't getting older. Underneath all of that experience, Under all those ideas, those thoughts, those worries, the emotion, underneath all of that is the container that allows them to be possible. And this is the only place where life actually happens. Symbolically, this is where the witness or the I am resides, watching the horizontal world pass by while remaining anchored in the vertical dimension. And what's cool about this is it's a very experiential way to live your life. You don't have to believe this. It's not nothing to believe. It's a reality that the only moment happens now, and that everything is passing through. I mean, we saw it. It's evidence. It's in the physical. You can't deny this. In many traditions, this center point is called the axis mundi, or the world's center. It suggests that while the world around you is in constant flux or impermanence, there is a stable, still point within you that remains unchanged. Yeah, and while modern Christianity focuses on the historical event of the crucifixion, so focused on the event of crucifying, early mystical traditions often view the cross as a mandala, a meditation tool meant to help the observer find their own center amidst the chaos of the horizontal world. The paradox of the still point. In poetry and in mysticism, the intersection is described as the still point of the turning world. It's counterintuitive because we think we are moving through time, but this analogy suggests that time is moving through us. That's a great way to put it, and that's right in line with the conveyor belt analogy, that time, whatever it is passing through, and we're watching it happen. That doesn't mean you can't do things in time. You're still abiding by the laws of time because this person is within the physical, so it's bound to time. But the watcher, the witness, the person underneath is not moving. Sure, the body will. Your thoughts can change. But who's aware of that? You'll often see a circle around the center of a cross, the Celtic cross, the Celtic cross. The circle represents eternity, emphasizing that the present moment isn't just a sliver of time, but a gateway into a dimension that has no beginning and no end. I got to see this Celtic cross now. I've never seen that. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. That makes sense. They have the circle. Infinite. Circle goes around and around, and if you are in the middle, you let the things pass through. You stay as the witnessing presence of whatever is going on, knowing that all problems will pass through, and you connect to something much deeper than the ephemeral comings and goings of the world. Now back to what we talked about originally with problems. I kind of deviated and went on a little spiritual renegade there, just how it happened to be. But it's hard to remember that whatever is a current problem will not be the problem for long. So let's go into that. Let's go into why that is, why our brain thinks every problem is the most important. While we can conceptualize the idea that every problem we have or experience comes and goes, it's easy to intellectualize or conceptualize that. Why is it so difficult for our brains to actually live by that? Because it always makes it feel like whatever problem that we are currently experiencing is the most difficult one we've ever had, which is, of course, not always the case, period. And then once you look back 5 to 10 years, they seem much less significant because it's no longer a problem. So it's like your brain kind of tricks you in magnifying whatever is going on currently. The brain is biologically wired to prioritize the now. Isn't that funny? For most of human history, a current problem was a literal threat to survival, whereas a past problem, it's irrelevant, and a future one is speculative. The negative bias in survival, your brain isn't designed to make you happy. It don't give a shit about how happy you are or enlightened. It's designed to keep your ass alive. It treats a modern social conflict or a financial stressor with the same neurological urgency as a predator at the cave entrance, magnifying it to ensure that you don't forget it. This is something that I've talked about many times on here, but I mean, it's deeply relevant because it's something we continually have to deal with. It's something that doesn't go away for most folks. If you are in a modern life, you are going to have problems. One comes, another goes, and two more get thrown on your plate. Never ending. One damn thing after the other. The pecan rule. It's like, ooh, we got a picture below. What the hell? All right, we'll have to look at that. Psychology shows we don't remember experiences as a whole. We remember the most intense moment, the peak, and the end. When you are in a problem, you are at the peak, and your brain lacks the end data to contextualize it, making it feel infinite. And your brain wants closure. It wants things to be on a tight loop of like, I know what's going to happen next. And it doesn't get that while you're in the middle of a problem, which makes you want to figure it out and deal with it even more. Humans are notoriously bad at humans are notoriously bad at predicting how they will feel in the future, so we succumb to impact bias, where we overestimate the length and intensity of future emotional states, failing to realize how quickly we actually adapt once the situation changes. Yeah. Whatever problem you have, you deal with it. When you hear a person dealing with something and it's a horrible situation, whatever that may be, you hear them talk about the story of whatever it was that they went through. You're like, oh my God, that was horrible. You had to, oh geez. And you're like, how did you deal with that? Because it's like we say things like, I could never deal with that. How were you able to? I couldn't do that. And then what do they say? They shrug their shoulders. That's what I was going through. I had no choice. That was what was on my plate at the time. And so whatever you're given, you have a miraculous way of adapting to whatever it is. To whatever it is. It may be horrible. It could be terrible. But if you are given an experience, you are forced to deal with it. And then through time, you get through it. And that's just how life works. And so that can be a comforting tool that whatever problem or situation that you are going through, you are a miraculous adapter. I mean, that is the basis of evolution, and how we are here today is that our ancestors went through terrible, hard shit for how we got here. And that hasn't gone away. And it's actually part of the reason why our brain makes problems so big, because they know the shit that our ancestors gone through, and it's like, okay, we need to be on alert. We got to be ready to take care of business. So trust that you can, and it's almost like a hybrid. It's almost like, yeah, adapt. You can adapt, but your brain can sometimes analyze, over predict, make something bigger than it is, and put your survival centers on more high alert than they need be. So it's this balance. It's this using your natural ability to be worried, to plan for the future, to be anxious, because if we didn't have that at all, we wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be able to get through problems if you didn't have that to some degree. So we really need to balance it with this side, and remembering and using that higher level of function of being aware of the survival brain, and being aware and remembering that this too shall pass, and that things are passing through, knowing that no experience will last for long, knowing our brain's wiring and its habits. So here's a picture of what is this? That is an insane image. So we got a brain here, we have the amygdala, and we got the spider. Okay, so the spider is the fearful input. The brain, the eyes take in that image, goes to the visual thalamus, then the visual cortex, where I guess it does the processing of knowing what that is. Does it say what this shit is? I don't want to guess. As, t- as time passes, the brain actually physically weakens the synaptic connection to the emotional pain of a memory to save energy. Huh. This is why a crisis from 10 years ago feels thin or flat. The biological hardware that carried the emotional charge has literally been recycled and used for something else. Change again. We have a built-in psychological immune system that causes the emotions associated with negative memories to fade much faster than the emotions associated. Really? We have a built-in psychological immune system that causes the emotions associated with negative memories to fade much faster than the emotions associated with positive ones. Huh. Really? This creates the looking back effect where past problems seem insignificant. That's true. How many times have you been in a situation where it's like you can laugh on it now? Like, that's a saying. Oh, we'll be able to laugh at this in a year or two. And you do. At the time, it's scary or whatever it is. But then you get through it. You're past it. You're on to something else. Your brain's already fixated on the 10 other problems. You look back at the old one and you're like, yeah, that was no big deal. So there's literally parts of the brain that had that event or situation as negative, and it just like, all right, we're going to take that emotional charge away from that event. We'll repurpose it for something else. Huh. I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. When you are in the middle of a crisis, your psychological distance is zero. You're right in it. Like holding a penny an inch from your eye. It can block out the entire sun. Yeah. Only when you move away from it through time do you realize how small the object actually was compared to the rest of the landscape. All right. So, given our natural biology, given this symbolism of time on the cross and how everything is passing through the physical experience, how can we take all this information, take the biological hardwiring of making every current problem that we have that naturally makes it feel so significant, but then also understanding at a high level that everything is passing through? How can we reconcile the two and kind of use both? Use the anxiety and worry and future planning to better ourselves, but at the same time, keeping it in perspective so we don't add too much extra stress to our lives. And how do we kind of know the difference between the two? All right. Yeah, after that, this is kind of the grand finale or conclusion here. Oh boy, we got the for medical advice or diagnosis. The third way, the functional anxiety meets high level perspective. The goal isn't to delete the biological hardware of anxiety, which is a useful alarm system, but to use the software of the cross. It's pretty cool, right? We're integrating our biology with the cross from Christianity. I mean, that's dope. It's where science and spirituality intersect. And I wouldn't even say it's an intersection. It's just the way it is. It's not two separate things. It's like they were always melded together, and the human mind separated the two. Use the software of the cross, the witness, to ensure the alarm doesn't keep ringing once you've heard the message. There's productive worry versus toxic rumination. This is huge. Biology gives you an anxiety as a call to action. If you can identify a step to take, I'm worried about my money, so I will draft a budget. That's the horizontal dimension working for you. If there's no action to take and the thought just loops and you're still thinking it and you're not able to do anything on the horizontal dimension, you have shifted into rumination or toxic rumination, which is the conveyor belt getting stuck. You're keeping it there, not allowing things to pass through naturally. The future self bridge. Research into Prospection shows that if you vividly imagine your future self 10 years from now looking back at today's problems, it triggers cognitive reappraisal. Interesting. If you imagine your future self 10 years from now looking back at today's problems, it triggers cognitive. This literally recruits the prefrontal cortex to dampen the amygdala's fire, allowing you to feel the impermanence rather than just intellectualize it. And I think that's why. So I've been at this mindfulness. I'm a mindfulness nerd. I like this stuff, and it's because my biological hardwire of anxiety is super high, and I'm just like, I want to feel better. I don't want to, be as anxious and worked up as I am, and so I just use these tools to help balance me out, And so I've done that. I guess I didn't really know the underlying mechanisms as much, but I think about that. I'm like, this is just passing through with the basketball, with the problem of people. Like, we will get through this. Like, it's going to happen. Whether the team even falls apart in 5 years or next month, and we'll be on a new team, and we'll look back and it'll just be like, yeah, that's how it was for a while, But that's just it. Remembering that, bringing about that horizontal, remembering that you're not stuck with the problem. Helps you turn off the amygdala, the anxiety place in the brain. The actionable pivot, the witness position, the center of the cross allows you to ask, is this a threat to my existence or a threat to my preference? The witness position. This allows you to ask, is this a threat to my existence or a threat to my what you prefer? Like, you wish that weren't happening. I mean, shit. A lot of life is doing things that we don't want exactly this way, Like my basketball team, I would love for us to be clicking on all cylinders right off the rip of starting a new team, but guess what? That's not what's happening. That's not my preference. So you have to adapt and to acknowledge that. Most modern problems are threats to our preferences, 100%. Recognizing this doesn't make the problem vanish, but it shifts the biological response from survival level of panic to problem-solving mode. Can I solve it? Yes, let's take action. Can I take action right now? No, then let's not continue to dwell on it, because then we are just going to our toxic rumination. Then the biological goes into overdrive. How to tell the difference. Biological alarm, the horizontal versus the witnessing perspective, the vertical. So let's go through should we do one after the other or go through all of them? I say we alternate. So the biological alarm, the focus is specific and it feels urgent and it narrows your vision. It's like the penny right up to your eye. You're just looking right at it and it feels like you don't see anything else. With the witness perspective, the vertical, feels more broad, spacious, and you can see the whole field. You remember that things are in time. All right, now biological alarm for the goal. You got to fix, fight, or flee. It's fight or flight. That's it. It's like, I got to do it right now. The witness perspective, the vertical, is to observe the experience without being consumed by it, without letting it take you for a ride. The biological horizontal for sensation. You feel physical tension. It feels like fast energy. You can get repetitive with that rumination. You just feel tight and like, ugh. The witness, the vertical, physical grounding. It feels a little more slow and a little more spacious. The biological alarm leads to an action or a plan. The witness leads to acceptance or context. So it is a balance. I was thinking that this was just the anxiety side for a second, like this was bad. But no, that's not necessarily the case. It's both. And I think a lot of us get stuck on the biological alarm side, and reminding ourselves, giving ourselves that context of things passing through on the conveyor belt can help us be a little bit more accepting of how the situation is, remembering that it will come through and we're just experiencing this right now, and then 10 years from now this ain't probably going to matter, helping you see the whole field. And then with that, you get more spacious. And then when the time comes, you can, fix it, you take care of it, and you make an action or plan. So it's definitely using both. So for me, to sum up, for my one example I've been hounding on, you guys are probably tired of hearing, with my basketball team, it sounds like I need to give myself some space, understand that this is how this I'm feeling right now. I'm a little angry or just frustrated, and that's completely normal for this situation to arise. And I know that it's not going to be here for long. The situation will evolve. Hell, it may get worse, but I'm going to let the emotions and the thoughts that happen that I'm experiencing come on through, and to accept that this is how it is right now, and that the plan is we have a little text group. We're talking. We've talked about strategies to get better, and then we just have to act and practice. But we're not going to worry in the meantime, because then that's just the rumination and kind of wasting precious mental energy and creating more suffering that we don't need to add to our lives, because life gives us enough of that already. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, maybe got a little bit out of it, and how I don't need to say anything else. You get it. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.